For generations of movie fans, Clint Eastwood has represented strength, confidence, and quiet determination. Whether he was riding across the dusty landscapes of the Old West or delivering justice as Dirty Harry, he became one of Hollywood's most recognizable and respected stars. But while millions admired the characters he played, very few understood how complex his life became once the cameras stopped rolling. Unlike many celebrities, Eastwood spent decades protecting his privacy. He rarely discussed his relationships, avoided unnecessary publicity, and preferred to let his work speak for itself. That silence only fueled public curiosity. Behind the legendary career was a personal story, filled with long relationships, unexpected family connections, difficult choices, and a blended family that slowly came into public view over the years. Long before he became a Hollywood icon, Clint Eastwood married Maggie Johnson in 1953. At the time, he was still searching for his place in the entertainment industry. Their marriage survived the uncertain years before fame. But as Eastwood's career exploded, maintaining a traditional family life became increasingly difficult. His breakthrough came with the television series Rawhide, introducing him to audiences across America. Soon afterward, director Sergio Leone cast him in the famous Dollars trilogy, transforming Eastwood into an international superstar. With worldwide success came constant attention from the media. But even as his fame grew, he continued to keep his private life largely out of the spotlight. Unlike today's celebrities, who often share every aspect of their lives online, Eastwood rarely explained what was happening behind closed doors. Instead, details about his relationships gradually emerged through biographies, interviews with those around him, and public records. That slow release of information created an image of mystery that surrounded him throughout much of his career. One of the most talked about chapters involved actress Sandra Locke. Their relationship began in the 1970s and lasted for more than a decade. Together, they appeared in several films and became one of Hollywood's well-known couples. But when the relationship ended, it led to legal disputes that attracted widespread media attention. For someone who had carefully protected his privacy for years, it was one of the few times his personal life became bigger news than one of his movies. Even during that difficult period, Eastwood remained remarkably quiet. He refused to engage in public arguments or lengthy interviews about the situation. While newspapers and television programs speculated about the details, he focused on directing films and continuing his career. His silence frustrated some reporters, but also reinforced the calm, disciplined image he had built over decades. As the years passed, another part of Eastwood's life became increasingly well known: his unusually large family. Today, it is widely recognized that Clint Eastwood is the father of multiple children from different relationships. Rather than presenting a picture of a conventional Hollywood family, his story reflected a modern, blended family that developed over many decades. Among his children, Scott Eastwood became the most recognizable to movie audiences. Sharing his father's distinctive appearance, Scott chose to build his own acting career rather than simply rely on the famous family name. In interviews, he has often explained that his father encouraged independence and expected him to work hard for every opportunity, i.e., Clint Eastwood believed that success should be earned, not inherited. And Scott has frequently credited that philosophy for shaping his own career. His daughter, Allison Eastwood, also entered the entertainment industry, working as both an actress and filmmaker while pursuing charitable causes. Other members of the family chose lives outside Hollywood, avoiding the spotlight that had followed their father for so many years. Perhaps the most surprising chapter emerged when the public learned more about Laurie Murray. Placed for adoption shortly after birth, Laurie later discovered, through her own search, that Clint Eastwood was her biological father. Rather than becoming a public scandal, reports suggested the two gradually developed a relationship over time. For many fans, it was a reminder that family stories are often more complicated than they first appear. Despite the public fascination surrounding these discoveries, Eastwood rarely commented. Friends and colleagues frequently described him as someone who preferred spending time with family away from Hollywood events. Those who worked closely with him often spoke about his professionalism on set and his desire to separate his work from his personal life. In the 1990s, Eastwood entered another important chapter when he married television journalist Dina Ruiz. Their marriage attracted considerable public interest because it represented one of the few relationships he openly acknowledged. The couple welcomed a daughter together and appeared publicly on several occasions. Although the marriage ended in divorce years later, both largely handled the separation without the prolonged public battles that often dominate celebrity headlines. Later, Eastwood shared a long-term relationship with Christina Sendera. Once again, the couple maintained a quiet and private lifestyle, rarely seeking media attention. Friends described their relationship as stable and supportive, fitting Eastwood's lifelong preference for keeping personal matters away from public discussion. Then, in 2024, Eastwood experienced a deeply personal loss when Christina Sendera passed away. He released a rare public statement describing her as a lovely, caring woman whose absence would be deeply felt. Coming from someone who had spent decades guarding his emotions, the statement revealed a more vulnerable side of one of Hollywood's toughest screen legends. Fans around the world responded with sympathy, recognizing that even icons face the same heartbreaks as everyone else. As Eastwood entered his 90s, conversations about his life increasingly focused on his remarkable legacy. Younger audiences discovered his classic films through streaming platforms, while longtime fans looked back on an extraordinary career that spanned more than 60 years. Alongside those achievements came greater appreciation for the complex personal journey that had unfolded largely outside public view. Looking back, Clint Eastwood's family life was never defined by a single controversy or headline. Instead, it reflected decades of changing relationships, growing responsibilities, and the challenges of balancing worldwide fame with private life. His story reminds us that even the most independent public figures navigate complicated personal paths that are rarely visible to the outside world. Perhaps that is why Clint Eastwood continues to fascinate audiences today. Beyond the Oscars, the blockbuster films, and the unforgettable characters, is a man whose family story evolved quietly over generations. It wasn't perfect, and it certainly wasn't simple. Yet through changing times, personal challenges, and unexpected discoveries, he continued moving forward with the same quiet determination that defines so many of his greatest performances. In the end, Clint Eastwood's greatest legacy extends beyond the screen. His films made him a legend, but his personal journey reminds us that every public icon has a private life filled with difficult choices, unexpected turns, and relationships that shape who they truly become. And perhaps that is the part of Clint Eastwood's story that Hollywood never fully revealed. Until now.